Okay, today I'm ranking every LOONA title track from worst to best. But the truth is, they don't really have a single that is genuinely bad, so I guess we're doing least good to most good. In total, we got 29 songs that are considered title tracks, so this video will take a while, but stick around to see who will get the top spot. For those of you who don't know, LOONA is my favorite girl group of all time. They're not my favorite girl group right now, but back then I was like fully immersed. Anyways, I digress. Back to the subject at hand, which is ranking LOONA okay, let's go. Coming in at last place is Goran's one and only. Now Goran is actually my bias and one of my favorite idols to ever exist. But this song, yeah, it's not too swell. I don't hate it by any means, and there are still parts that I can enjoy, but the jumbled sing talk, of which the pre-chorus is the worst case of this, just makes the entire track feel hasty and undercooked. I also understand that Tyron's crunchy tone might not be for everyone, so the sort of rapid fire lyrics that we hear during the build might come off as all the more grating. But I do still find it listenable, and the chorus does manage to redeem some of the song's tackier elements. Sonatine is up next, and for the uninitiated, this song's title might sound very elegant and sophisticated, but I only recently realized that it's actually the name of a 1993 Japanese Yakuza film, so make of that what you will. The composition is serviceable, and together with the instrumental creates quite the magical atmosphere, but in order to pull off a ballad that strictly confines itself to a subdued orchestral arrangement, requires a great deal of melodic heft to sustain interest throughout the extended runtime. Unfortunately, this is where Sonatine falls short in that it gets a bit boring after a while, with no substantial climax to structure itself around. Although I will always have a soft spot for this song because they filmed the MV in Hong Kong, which is where I'm from. Number 27 is Let Me In by Hustle. Once again, it makes a commendable effort to establish a sense of mystical ambience, akin to that of a fantasy movie soundtrack, and Hustle's husky voice is very well suited for the task. But it suffers much of the same pitfalls as Sonatine, and I'm also not a huge fan of the awkward phrasing during the chorus. Thus, it earns points for its grandiose vision and wondrous instrumental, but ultimately I prefer songs with more bombast and drive. Luminous really doesn't do much for me. It follows the exact template that most unremarkable tracks nowadays conform to, which is to say rap-heavy verses, vaguely melodic build, and a chanted chorus. Hyunjin and Cherry get a chance to shine, and that's awesome, but on the other hand you have Vivi and Goran, whom are perpetually relegated to the occasional ad-lib and having to sing alongside another member. And while line distribution is not necessarily a criterion that I take into account when judging the quality of a song, if these lopsided allocations disrupt the cohesion and flow, which it often does, that's where I might intervene. Plus, it is an issue that has been plaguing LOONA's title tracks for forever. Next up is Favorite. Clearly not. The song instantly makes an impression with a jarring yet distinctive synth, a sound that serves as the backbone of the instrumental. But beyond that, we're given mostly a bunch of loosely strung together hooks and melodies, which are usually indicative of a song that lacks focus. I read in one review that the production felt compressed and claustrophobic, which I believe is a fair assessment. It just feels very oddball, but that's not a bad thing per se, and the same could be said about a lot of LOONA's pre-debut material. Overall, a solid but not spectacular introduction to them as a full group. Around You. I think a lot of fans like to rate this song super low simply because it's a ballad or because it's quote-unquote boring, but despite my penchant for more upbeat tracks, I do have a fondness for ballads, and Hyunjin, of course. I don't know, I find her voice and the melody very soothing. On the other hand, it might just put me to sleep with how languid the pace is, but I still like the song even though it offers so little. Not Friends. This is a song that should hold so much more weight and pack a punch, considering that this is a Ryan June production, but it is obviously not up to par with his more rousing works. This unofficial subunit deliver a performance with a profuse amount of attitude, but the laid-back energy that pervades this song prevents it from becoming something more. The one that started it all. This really does sound like something a Disney villain would sing during like some evil monologue / musical number. But jokes aside, Heejin definitely proved herself to be a competent vocalist, and the song is amusing to say the least. It has a very quirky and novel quality to it. It has a good bit of bounce, which makes it super memorable and catchy, but also not something that I would listen to over and over again. Alright, 365, another ballad. This one's my favorite out of the bunch. It's got a very pretty melody and a very comforting, healing vibe to it. You really can't expect a slow jam like this to blow your mind. It makes absolutely zero effort to do that, but it knows what it is and does what it's supposed to. That's all I can say. Why Not was my first comeback as an Orbit, and I remember being super disappointed with the screen time and line distribution. They really did go on dirty there, but that's besides the point. It is very much an energetic dance track in the style of LOONA, but I can't really speak to the efficacy and staying power of those hooks. They're catchy, I guess. I enjoyed the hell out of this song when it first came out, but of course that was before I started listening to music with my brain. Looking back, I find the production to be overly simplistic and repetitive, and the constant ad-libbing during the chorus became more and more monotonous with each listen. When they announced that Flip That was a house-based song, I was seriously excited, because you know that I think house and summer are a match made in heaven. So there I thought we'd be getting the Knicks' Four Walls or All Mine, but I soon came to realize that I, like many others, was being overly optimistic. By being too gentle with his approach, Flip That lacks the force and vivacity that most house tracks utilize to get people moving, in the chorus especially. The song's central hook tries to replicate the immensely simple yet effective refrains from, say, Shiny's View, but doesn't come close to matching it. If only everything was far less toned down, we could have had a winner on our hands, so until next year. Singing in the Rain. By all accounts, I should love this song. You've got Jinsol and future bass. That's pretty much it. She sounds fantastic on the mic, and together with the upbeat percussion, gives the track plenty of thrust. The beat drop might just be the weakest part of the track as it upends the momentum, but fortunately not to a detrimental degree. It's just too trappy for my taste. If the song flowed seamlessly all the way through and had a far more propulsive centerpiece, I could see it being ranked a lot higher. I was really hyped for this song. The highlight medley teased an excellent pre-chorus, exactly the type of ascension I was looking for. I just prayed that they wouldn't mess it up. But alas, we're about to paint the town. Ra-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. Oh, what a buzzkill, bruh. Looking past the massively disappointing chorus, thankfully the song does sort of compensate for it with a frenetic instrumental and sheer aggression. The final climax was overwhelmingly powerful for sure, but at any rate, I'm glad LOONA have now moved past that girl crush phase. Number 16 is New by Eve, a dreamy synthwave city pop track, things that should appeal to me greatly, but I do wish this song had a bit more meat on its bones. The beat emerges in a very understated manner, but gradually amps up as we reach the chorus. Eve does her best Sunmi impression, giving quite a sultry and evocative performance. In fact, New really does sound like something that could have been released by Sunmi, if only the production was a bit more refined. That being said, it is still one of the project's stronger solo releases. So What, aka the obligatory girl crush hip hop rap track, but surprisingly they actually have quite a good go at it. This was the song that made me stan them after all. The rapping is fine, but that whizzing trap beat is the star of the show here, giving the song a much needed sense of drive. The bridge of course is another highlight, a segment that fans often tout to be one of the greatest ever created, which is respectable. All things considered, So What is a bold statement of intent, and although they might not be a truly badass group at heart, you'd find that hard to believe after listening to this song. Alright, I know. This placement will elicit more than a fair share of eyebrow raises, but truth be told, I'm not part of that cult that worships Butterfly like it's the greatest thing ever made. It is one of their defining works for sure, and there's no other song that sounds quite as ethereal as this. The beat drop is invigorating enough, however, the over-reliance on atmosphere leads to perhaps other important aspects falling by the wayside. While this might be an artistic choice, some of the vocals are overly shrill and almost completely drowned out by the instrumental, but it certainly doesn't take away from the song's otherworldly quality. So a highly ambitious undertaking nonetheless, flawed execution be damned. Now when it comes to the carol, I will always prefer the original version to this one because I'm probably more used to the voices. Considering that it is one of my favorite Christmas K-pop songs ever, 2.0 just sort of registers as a really well-made cover essentially. Most Christmas songs thrive on a straightforwardly festive melody and very typical holiday-esque instrumentation, and the Carol 2.0 is no different. It does what a Christmas song is meant for, which is to lift your mood and put you in the spirit of the season. In that regard, Christmas songs like this are almost guaranteed to be enjoyable, but won't rank super high because of it. Next up is Hula Hoop. I like Hula Hoop quite a bit actually. This was a song coming off the heels of a few darker and edgier releases from LOONA, so it was great to finally see them ditch the contrived badassery and opt for a more joyous pop tune. Hula Hoop is mindlessly fun to listen to, ridiculously catchy, and even though some parts may be rough around the edges, like how they once again refuse to give up the intermittent chanting and exclamations, it makes up for it through pure enthusiasm and exhilaration. Kiss It Later. This song gives off those Good Day / Last Fantasy IU vibes for real, minus the power belts of course. The level of amusement might be somewhat excessive for those who don't feel like listening to what is basically a glorified nursery rhyme, but the energy of the entire thing is just so infectious, like a children's song. I mean, Yeojin was like 14 when she debuted with this, so. The production hits all the right notes, and the little guitar solo at the end was a nice touch as well. Number 10 is Love Cherry Motion. The song gets into a brisk and upbeat groove and runs with it throughout its entirety, and though I'm not the biggest enjoyer of those post-chorus breakdowns, they do add an interesting element of contrast into what would otherwise be a pretty standard song. Now, standard doesn't equal bad, but every bit of LCM is very safe in its execution, down to the feel-good chorus. What we're left with, however, is a pleasurable summer song that I think suits Cherry's personality perfectly. Eclipse. This song never really resonated with me, I guess, up until I listened to it again and again when making this video. Presented with elegance and flair beyond her years, Kim Lib's airy and charismatic delivery takes center stage in this lush and mesmerizing soundscape. While I do occasionally find the melody to be a bit incongruous, I cannot deny that Lib sounds unbelievably phenomenal on this track. Like, she ate this up and left no crumbs. I'm not even kidding. Though I wish the production could have been more explosive, Eclipse succeeds entirely on a more subtle but hypnotic aura. Man, I used to love this song a lot, and if I made this list in my YY by Y phase, it probably would have landed at or near the top. But now I guess I've grown out of it slightly. Maybe I was just overdosing on serotonin back then. I'm still a big fan of bubblegum K-pop, but like any other good song, robust melodies and memorable hooks take priority over concept, and Love Forever achieves these goals to some extent. Though it almost becomes cloying at certain points, the song's lurid appeal is also very hard to resist. Next we have Every Day I Love You by my girl Vivi. Ignoring the grammatically incorrect title, I think she was lucky enough to be gifted one of the strongest solo debuts in LOONA's arsenal. Although she may not be the most talented vocalist, this is certainly the best that she has ever sounded, and she does an absolutely fine job with the material. The melody is pleasant and cheerful, but the song is at its peak when it breaks out into full-fledged buoyant synth-pop mode during the chorus. Despite the company's continual mistreatment of Vivi nowadays, Every Day I Love You is still one fun tune to look back on. Heart Attack. I don't think they could have come up with a better debut song for Chu, a little number of cathartic bombast to go with her beaming persona. The song's elements are fully fleshed out, from melody to production, as the stomping beat gives way to the gracefully ascending chorus and bridge, inspiring a sense of awe that culminates in the finale. Jiwoo's sunshine-filled performance and soaring voice is sweet, endearing, and sure to leave a lasting impression, making Heart Attack a fitting introduction to the vocalist that we know and love. Girlfriend was our first time hearing from Odd Eye Circle, and boy was it an apt distillation of their charms and off-kilter sound. The zippy and frenetic electronics that kick off the track, the bubbly synths that emerge during the pre-chorus, both ripped straight from the album intro, combined with the low-pitched and distorted vocal effects, create an eccentric and zestful arrangement reminiscent of a similarly idiosyncratic track like Red Flavor. Filled to the brim with excitement and imagination, Girlfriend is a bona fide adrenaline rush, representing the brighter and more stirring sound that the group should capitalize on more often. Number 4, Egoist, aka the best LOONA solo song. From the dreamy, trance-like opening, the minimalistic and resonating luster of the piano, to Olivia's cold, almost aloof tone, these elements go a long way to sell the mystery and atmosphere of the track. While it may trudge along at a slower tempo, the generous sprinkling of sublime electronics and glaring synth beams show signs of a brilliant and vibrant soundscape. Hell, even Jinso's rap segment during the breakdown, I enjoyed that too. There's a particular way that Egoist makes me feel that I can't quite put into words, whether it is nostalgic or poignant, and it's just really easy for me to become lost in the swirling depths of the song. Everybody loves Hi Hi, and I love Hi Hi too. It is still a high watermark in LOONA's discography and a standout amongst 4th generation debuts. Though the group would eventually move on to experimenting with vastly different concepts, this is still the one that I think truly suits their image, harnessing the power of Aegyo and an almost hyperactive energy to create one of the best bubblegum K-pop songs in recent memory. Its fast-paced verses are endlessly ecstatic, catalyzed by a flurry of icy saccharine synths. The song utilizes several marvelously catchy and jubilant refrains to perk up the ears of the listener as it barrels towards the chorus, reaching a fever pitch in the iconic centerpiece. It's really impossible not to like this song, or at least be somewhat titillated by the persistent elation. In my case, it's the former. Number 2 is Sweet Crazy Love. The song is wholly captivating from the moment it begins, with a consummate keyboard riff. The verses ebb and flow super well, the performances are incredibly charismatic, I cannot stress that enough. Kim Lip, Jinsol and Cherry significantly elevate the material with their breezy vocals, imbuing the track with an irresistible magnetism and appeal. I know this is probably such a cliche thing to say, but this song just feels like a breath of fresh air, because it is. It is an unreal experience that you must hear to believe, and remains one of Idare Sonyo's finest releases. Love and Live is the pinnacle of LOONA's magical sound, which captures a Lovelyz-esque lightning in a bottle melody and production, creating a beautiful blend of girl group euphoria and nostalgia. While its hesitant verses do leave something to be desired, it gradually escalates to an undoubtedly thrilling arrangement in the climax, backed by vivacious bursts of synth. The song wastes no time diving back into the ardent chorus, rekindling that spark of joy a mere 17 seconds after we hear it for the first time. I feel like Love and Live is certainly underappreciated by the community and deserves more recognition for its relentless exuberance. And of course, I need to mention that they filmed the MV in Hong Kong, or at least half of it, and because of that, I owe them everything. Totally unbiased ranking, you're welcome. Listen, writing the script at this moment in time, I realized I went way overboard with the amount of commentary for each song, so the next time I do this, I should probably exercise a bit more self-control. And in case you're wondering why I didn't include star/voice in this ranking, it's because it simply wouldn't be fair, as that song would go straight to number 1 without a second thought. Nevertheless, I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below what your favorite LOONA title track is. Remember to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.